Dear students and academicians, a very warm welcome to everyone. So this is B. Uday Kumar, Assistant Professor of Physics, working in Dr. B.R. Government College at Cherla. So as you already know that in our last class, I have started a chapter which is electrostatics. So now we will continue our next, that means we will continue our class to finish off the remaining topics. Uh, okay, so let us move on to our next slide. So in today's class, we will try to finish off the topics which are written over the slide. These are electric field intensity, electric lines of forces, and electric flux and Gauss theorem. So these topics are very, very important to you for board examination as well as for competitive examinations. So anyway, just okay. So we try to understand what is electric field intensity. So electric field intensity is defined as the force experienced by a unit positive charge. So this is called as electric field intensity. And mathematically, we can write that electric field intensity as F by Q0. So if you observe this equation, on right hand side, we have the force experienced by a unit positive charge. So this force is a vector quantity and Q0, which is the charge, is a scalar quantity, and hence the electric field intensity, which is on left hand side, also becomes a vector quantity. So please remember, electric field intensity is a vector quantity which is defined as the force experienced by an unit positive charge, and its units are Newton per coulomb or volt per meter. I hope the definition and the mathematical formula is okay to you. So let us just move on to our next slide. So now we try to derive the expression for electric field intensity. So now let us assume that there is a charge Q. Okay, so around it, it will have its own electric field, and at different points, the charge will have different electric field intensities, and that electric field intensity depends on the distance where you want to find the electric field intensity. So anyway, so that our aim is to derive an expression for the electric field intensity now. Okay, so to derive the expression or formula for electric field intensity, just go through these images here carefully. So now my aim is to find the electric field intensity due to a point charge, and hence I should draw a point charge first of all. So in figure A, I have shown this red dot by a point charge, which is denoted by capital Q. So now my aim is to find the electric field intensity due to this point charge, right? And hence, let us assume that this is the point charge whose electric field intensity I want to find. So to find the electric field intensity, where you want to find the electric field intensity, that is important, right? Further, choose a point P which is present at a distance of R. Okay, so that means this is charge Q, whose electric field intensity we want to find. To find its electric field intensity, you have to choose a point P where you want to find the electric field intensity. And hence I have chosen a point P here. So this is the point P where I want to find the electric field intensity of Q. So to find the electric field intensity, the third step is that keep a unit positive charge at point P. Unit positive charge, you can say Q1, Q0, Q2, whatever it is. It's a unit, we just call it as a unit positive charge, that's it. So let us assume that small q is the unit positive charge that I am keeping here, or a test charge, you can say that it's a test charge also, or simply you can say that it's a charge. So let us keep a small q, which is a charge at point P. So now what happens whenever some small q charge is kept at P, there will be some force of attraction or repulsion between these two charges, which we studied with the help of Coulomb's law. So let us assume that these two charges are plus charges. So if these two charges are plus charges, obviously what happens, the repulsion force will be existing between these two, and hence this charge tries to move away. That means away from capital Q. So this is the direction of the Coulomb's repulsion force that arises on small q due to capital Q. So in the direction of capital F, the electric field intensity also will be there. Remember in our last, that means this is the equation or the definition of electric field intensity, which is defined as the force experienced by a unit positive charge. So in the direction of F, the electric field intensity also will be there, right? And hence, so here to find the electric field intensity at point P due to capital Q, so you need to substitute the formula for the force that arises between these two charges. Now, by Coulomb's law, you know that the force between these two charges, I can write it as in general. Coulomb's law, we used to write Q1 Q2 by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. But here, what happens here, in place of Q1 and Q2, we have capital Q and small q, and hence the electric field intensity, I can write it as this is F by Q, right? So 1 by Q is written as it is, and in place of F, we write capital Q small q by 4 pi epsilon r square. If the medium that exists between these two charges is free space, this epsilon is replaced by epsilon 0. Depending on the medium, you can write it down, otherwise keep it as it is. So there is nothing wrong here. So now what happens, this small q and this small q which is in denominator and this small q which is in numerator, they do get cancelled, and after getting cancelled, you get the formula for electric field intensity as capital Q by 4 pi epsilon r square. So this r cap is a unit vector which is in the direction of F. Okay, anyway, so this is the electric field intensity of a charge capital Q at a distance of r. So that you try to get it. In other words, we can say that electric field intensity is nothing but the strength of electric field. Okay, so as r is increased now, if r increases, the electric field intensity decreases, so that you have to understand here. Okay, so anyway, similarly, this is capital Q, right? I have found the electric field intensity of capital Q at a distance of r, right? So now that means at this point P, the electric field intensity of capital Q is given by this one. For example, let us take some other charge Q1. If I want to find the electric field intensity of this Q1 at a distance of capital R, the formula for electric field intensity becomes, this is equal to Q1 by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. So this becomes the formula of electric field intensity. I hope it is clear to you. So let us move on to our next slide by removing all the drawings here. Okay, so anyway, so let us move on to our next slide now. So electric lines of forces. So what are electric lines of forces? So you already know that what is electric field. So electric field is nothing but the space around the charge in which it experiences some force on the other charge, right? So that space is denoted with the help of electric lines of forces. Anyway, electric lines of force is an imaginary line along which a free unit positive charge moves in electric field. So this is the definition of electric lines of force. To understand this definition, let me take a marker now. So let us assume that this is the plus charge and this is the minus charge. So forget about it. These two are separated, right? So for example, in this place, that means in this space around this charge, if I keep some charge, unit positive charge, say some plus Q0, what happens, since this is plus charge and this is also plus charge, repulsion force arises between these two, and hence this charge tries to move in outward direction, right? The same charge is placed here, what happens, it tries to move outward. The same charge is moved at this place, what happens, it tries to move out. So the path followed by that unit positive charge in that space gives us a particular line or path which we call it as electric line of force. So that is the definition that is written over here. If you can understand it once again, electric line of force is an imaginary line. It's an imaginary line. Actually, it doesn't exist, but it's an imaginary line along which a free unit positive charge. So this is the unit positive charge. When it is kept, it tries to move in outward direction, right, for positive charge. So that path is called as electric line of force. Similarly, the same charge is kept here. What happens? So please check it out. So this is Q0. which is unit positive charge. If I keep this unit positive charge at this point, what happens? It tries to move towards a negative charge because of attraction force. So this path, which is directed towards for negative charge, is called as electric line of force again. Is that clear? So these are all electric lines of forces which are defined as the path followed by a unit positive charge when they are kept in the electric field of a particular charge. That's all. This is the definition. Okay. So I hope it is clear. For positive properties of electric lines of forces, you can understand here itself. For positive charges, they are directed outwards, and for negative charges, they are directed inward. These 2 points are very important. So please check it out. Okay, okay, let us just move on to our next slide now. Properties of electric lines of forces. As I already mentioned, they start from positive charge and end on negative charge. We have finished it. And the other important property of the electric lines of force is that the tangent drawn at a point on electric line of force gives the direction of E at that point. That means, let us assume that there is an electric field. And if you want to find the direction of electric field at a particular point, what you do is that you just draw the tangent at that point. That tangent gives the direction of electric field intensity at that point, or electric field, direction of electric field at that point. So this is the other important property. So that, for example, so these are the two lines of forces that I have drawn here. So if I want to find the electric field intensity direction at this point, you just draw a tangent here. Okay, similarly, if I draw a tangent to this point, so that tangent gives the direction of electric field at that point. So this is another important property of electric lines of forces. Now coming to the next point, which is the lines of forces do not intersect. This one is very, very, very important. No two lines of forces intersect, because if they do intersect, at intersecting point, you will have two tangents, which gives two directions of electric field, which is not at all possible, which is impossible in other words. So, and hence no two electric lines of forces do intersect. They will not intersect. They will not intersect at any cost. Because if they do intersect, at that intersecting point, you will have two tangents here. Two tangents means two directions of electric field, which is important. So I hope it is clear to you. So let us just move on to our next slide. Electric flux. So what is electric flux? Okay. So the definition of electric flux is that the number of lines of forces passing normally through any surface placed in some electric field. Okay. So now you know that what is electric lines of forces. You already know, which we studied on our previous slide. So the electric lines of forces, when they are passing through a particular surface normally, we call that number as electric flux. That's it. So this is electric flux, right? For example, if you consider this diagram, so the dotted lines with arrow marks shows the electric field, which is understood with the help of electric lines of forces. So in this electric field, if you keep some surface or area, some lines obviously will be passing through it. The number of lines of forces that are passing normally through that surface, which is placed in some electric field, is called as electric flux. Okay, and it is denoted by pi e, and its units are Newton per coulomb meter square or volt into meter. Okay, I hope it is clear. Mathematically, we can that means we can write this as, remember, electric flux is a number. It's just a number. It's a scalar quantity, right? It's a scalar quantity. It is the number of lines of forces passing through an area normally. Okay, so since it's a number, to find that number, mathematical equation is given by EA cos theta, which is also written as E dot A. E dot A. That means the dot product of electric field and the area vector gives the number of lines of forces that are passing through an area normally, which we call it as flux. Okay, so the dot product of electric field intensity and area vector. So remember, area is a vector quantity. As I already mentioned, electric field intensity is a vector quantity. That is clear to you, I hope. And the area is also a vector quantity. And the vector quantity, that means the area is a vector quantity. That means it will be having magnitude and also direction. And the direction of the area will be always perpendicular to the area itself. Okay, so that you try to get it. Anyway, we just move on to our next slide, which explains the electric flux that in detail. Anyway, so let us assume that, let us consider this diagram now. For convenience, I am taking this one. Okay, I am just taking another one. So there is a positive charge here, plus Q. And this positive charge is surrounded by a closed surface here. So now what happens? Because of this positive charge, all the electric lines of forces will be coming out. You know this, right? Okay, all the electric lines of forces will be coming out. Plenty of electric lines of forces. So now if I choose a small area element here, like this, it's already written over here. So this area element, I can take it as delta A or dA. So you know that since the charge is present inside the closed surface, all the lines will be coming out. Out of them, few lines will be passing through this small area element also. Okay, so the lines of forces that are passing through this small area element is denoted by d phi. Okay, so d phi is the flux passing through the small area element that you have chosen in the total area, right? So I can write this d phi e as that means in our last slide you already know the definition of flux, right? It is the dot product of electric field intensity and area vector, right? So now here the element that I have chosen is dA, right? And hence the flux or the number of lines of forces passing through the small area is written as E dot dA, dot product of E and dA. So if I expand this, I can write it as E dA cos theta, where theta is the angle between E and dA. Okay, I hope this is clear. So now the flux that is passing through the small area element, I can write it as d phi, which is again written as EDA cos theta. So that is fine. But if you want to find the total electric flux, mathematics will help us. What we do, we just integrate this equation to find the total electric flux that is passing through the entire closed surface. Okay, so to find the total electric flux, just integrate it. If you integrate it, you get the total electric flux. So that means if I write, that means on right hand side, if I substitute in place of d phi, which is E dot dA, I get integral E dot dA. If you expand this, integral E dA cos theta gives you, integral E dA cos theta gives you the total electric flux that is passing through the entire surface. Okay, I hope it is clear. So these are the equations that we generally use in our next topic. So please remember these equations. And now coming on to this diagram. So these are the images which helps you to understand what is electric flux. And these images will help you to understand what is theta here. Okay, so anyway, to understand the electric flux and this theta concept, have a look at these three images now. So what do you think about this first image? So in this image, the electric lines of forces and the area, or this I also can call it as a surface. So electric lines of forces and this surface, they are perpendicular to each other, right? Perpendicular to each other. Electric lines of forces and the surface, both are perpendicular to each other. That means in this case, the angle between electric lines of forces and the surface, we think, not we think, it is actually 90 degrees. It is actually 90 degrees. But what is the definition of flux now? Actually, the definition of flux is E and A cos theta, where theta is the angle between E and E and A. Okay, so you know that E is in this direction. And what about A? What is the direction of A? As I already mentioned, area is a vector quantity whose direction is perpendicular to it. For example, if this is the area, its direction will be like this. This is the area, its direction will be perpendicular to area. So though it appears as if the area is perpendicular to the electric lines of forces, but actually the direction of area vector will be along the direction of E here. So that means here in this case, okay, the angle between E and A is not 90 degrees. Okay, it is not 90 degrees. It is 0 here. So please check it out. There is a dot line which is drawn here. This is the direction of A. So A and E are directed along the same direction. Okay, so that means here in this case theta is 0, that means cos 0 is 1, and hence the flux that is passing through this area will be maximum because cos 0's maximum value is 1, right? and hence the total number of lines of forces that are passing through this area will be maximum. And similarly, if you consider this case, what do you find here? So physically, you can easily say that the number of lines of forces that are passing through this area will be zero, right? Physically, you can say, you can easily say that the number of lines of forces that are passing through this region is zero. Okay, no line of force is passing through it. Anyway, mathematically, are we getting that? You just check it out. But if you observe carefully here, okay, so again, the mathematical equation of phi, I can write it as E A cos theta, where here theta becomes the angle between E and A. So E is in this direction and A is perpendicular to the area itself, right? And hence the angle between E and A becomes in this case 90 degrees. That means if I substitute 90 in place of theta, I get 0. So physically, you can say that the flux that is passing through this area is 0, and even mathematically, I am getting. Okay. So like that, what is theta that you try to get it? Theta is the angle between electric field intensity and area vector, not area. Please check it out. Area vector, and area vector will be always perpendicular to area itself. Okay, what about this case? In this case, the angle between E and A is not 0, neither 0 nor 90, something else, and hence the flux, that means the lines of forces that are passing through this area will be not maximum, not minimum, it will be in between that. Okay, so I hope the concept of electric flux is clear to you. So now let us just move on to our next slide, that is Gauss theorem. So what is Gauss theorem, which is also called as Gauss law, which is very, very, very important to you for your board examination and also for competitive examinations. So, some conceptual questions they will be asking. Anyway, what is Gauss theorem? We just try to get it. So Gauss theorem is nothing but the total electric flux passing through a closed surface will be equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the closed surface. So to understand that, let us take a marker here. So now let us assume that this is a positive charge plus Q, okay, which is present inside the closed surface. This is the closed surface that I am considering. So this charge is present inside the closed surface. So this closed surface is a three-dimensional body. It is a three-dimensional body, right? So please try to understand. It's not a two-dimensional body, it's a three-dimensional body. So this charge is present inside a closed surface, inside a three-dimensional body. So now you know that again. So since it is a positive charge, all the electric lines of forces will be coming out of that closed surface like this, from all the directions, like this, right? Okay. So now the total number of lines of forces that are coming out of that closed surface will be equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by it. So this is Gauss theorem. Okay, I hope it is clear. So Gauss theorem states that the total number of lines of forces passing through a closed surface will be equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by it. Okay, so now let us try to prove this Gauss theorem now. Okay, so what is Gauss theorem? The statement is over, I think. I hope there is nothing wrong here. There is no problem to you. The total number of lines of forces are total electric flux passing through a closed surface will be equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by it. So this is the statement. So please remember, and the flux, you already know flux is denoted by phi e, and it is also denoted as integral E dot ds. It will be equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times charge enclosed by it. This is Gauss theorem. We try to prove it now. So to prove that, we just move on to our next slide. So to understand, that means to prove what is Gauss theorem, I have drawn 4 images now. Okay. So what is this? What are these images? We try to understand step by step. So in figure A, first of all, remember this is Gauss theorem, right? So there is a charge here, there is flux here. Okay, and it should be closed. The surface must be closed. Okay, that means I have to consider a charge which is present inside a closed surface. For that, first of all, I need to take a charge, right? So I have taken a charge now. So I have taken a charge plus Q. Okay, to construct a closed surface, I have to choose a point P now. Okay, so I have chosen a point P again. So let me take a marker now. So this is the charge that I am considering. This is the point P which I have chosen in figure A. So now let us assume that the distance between these two is R. Okay, so at point P, the electric field intensity of this charge is known to us already. We have just derived it in this class itself. The electric field intensity at a distance of R is given by Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 R square. This formula we just derived in the beginning of the class. Okay, so the electric field intensity due to this charge Q at a distance of R, which is at P, is given by Q E is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 R square. So this formula we are going to substitute in the derivation. So please remember it. Okay, so if it is, since it is positive charge, the direction of electric field intensity at this point will be out in outward direction. So please remember this. Okay. Anyway, now coming to the figure C. So in figure B, what I have done, I have chosen point P, which is present at a distance of R. Now in figure C, what you have to do is that you have to construct a closed surface now. Closed surface. So now construct a closed surface which is passing through P now. Okay, this closed surface can be of any shape. Choice is yours. It can be symmetrical, unsymmetrical, whatever it may be. Remember, it's not two-dimensional. It's a three-dimensional one. So the closed surface must be passing through point P. Is that clear? Must be passing through point P. So that's it. This is figure C. So now to find the electric flux, in our previous slide, you know that the total flux is Q by epsilon 0. This is what we have to derive. Right? So to find the flux, to write the flux, what you need to do? You need to have integral E dot ds. E dot ds. Okay, so E dot ds means I have to choose a small area element within this closed surface now. So for that reason, I have chosen the smallest area element on the closed surface, which is ds at point P. Is that clear? So at point P, what I have done, I have chosen a small area element ds at point P. So remember. So now at point P, the electric field intensity due to this plus Q is directed outwards. I already mentioned here. So it is outward. And at point P, the direction of surface element will be perpendicular to surface. Surface is nothing but area. Just in our previous slides, I explained. Area vector will be perpendicular to area itself, right? So I have chosen ds at point P. Now its direction will be perpendicular to ds itself. So let us assume that this is the ds, the direction of ds, and let theta is the angle between E and ds. So now, as you know, from plus Q, the lines of forces will be traveling or coming out in all the directions. You know that. So that means few lines of forces will be passing through ds also. That number of lines of forces is called as flux, which is denoted by d phi e. You know that we already discussed. So now d phi e is the number of lines of forces that are passing through this ds, and which is written as E dot ds. So now to find the total electric flux, what you do, you just integrate that equation. Okay. So I hope it is clear. So that means maximum the diagrammatic part is over. Now let us move on to the derivation part. Okay. So this one. So d phi e is the flux that is passing through this ds, and I can write d phi e as E ds cos theta, where theta is angle between E and ds. And to find the total electric flux, what we do, we just integrate this equation. It is closed surface. This circle represents the closed surface, and this one represents the surface integral, total surface integral. And d phi e, we know that it is E ds cos theta. So that means total electric flux, I can write it as integral E ds cos theta. Let us take this equation as one. But we already know that E is equal to Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. Just now in our last slide, I just mentioned where E is electric field intensity at point P, which is at a distance of R, and which is given by the formula Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square. And if I substitute that in this equation, what happens? Let me take just a marker. So now the total electric flux, I can write it as integral this one, E ds cos theta, which is equal to integral, in place of E, substitute equation 2. If I do that, Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 r square, ds cos theta remains as it is. Okay, so now in this case, Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 is a constant thing. It comes out of the integration part. If I bring Q by 4 pi epsilon 0 outside it, what you get? You get ds cos theta by r square. So this ds cos theta by r square is called as solid angle, which is denoted by d omega. Okay, what is this d omega? You just check it out. In this diagram, d omega is mentioned. D omega is the solid angle subtended by ds at q. You know that, you know angle, right? Angle is the that means between two lines, the angle between these two lines. Say this is one line and this is another line. The angle between these two lines is denoted by this one, right? It is in general diagrammatic in terms of diagram. Solid angle is not a two-dimensional angle; it's a three-dimensional angle, right? So that means if you consider this ds on its periphery, on its perimeter, if you draw uh, lines from each and every point of periphery to charge, what you get? You get a conical shaped structure, a conical shaped structure. And if you look at that conical phase structure from top, you see a circle, right? Which we call it as solid angle. This one we call it as solid angle, which is denoted by d omega, and hence phi e I can write it as q by 4 pi epsilon 0 integral d omega. And this integral d omega is 4 pi. And 4 pi and 4 pi gets cancelled, and hence it becomes q by epsilon 0. Why it is 4 pi, you have to understand. Remember, this 4 pi is the angle subtended by q inside the closed surface. It's a three-dimensional surface, as I already mentioned. In case of circle, the angle subtended by a point is 2 pi, because circle is a two-dimensional body. But here we are not considering the circle, we are considering a three-dimensional object. So inside the three-dimensional object, the angle subtended by a point will be not 2 pi, 2 pi and lower part also 2 pi, both becomes 4 pi. So I hope you understand it. If not, please try to imagine it. If you imagine it, I'm sure it will be very much clear to you. And hence phi e I can write it as q by epsilon 0, where 4 pi and 4 pi gets cancelled. This is Gauss theorem, right? The total electric flux that is passing through a closed surface will be equal to 1 by epsilon 0 times the charge enclosed by the closed surface. This is Gauss theorem. Okay, and hence we have proved it. Okay, so this is also called as the integral form of Gauss theorem, because phi e, what phi e represents integral e dot ds, right? And hence whatever the equation that we have proved here, so this is nothing but this one, integral e dot ds is equal to q by epsilon 0. We have proved it, right? So this is called as the integral form of Gauss theorem. Okay, this is called as the integral form of Gauss theorem. So now our aim is to derive the differential form of Gauss theorem also, or Gauss law. Okay, so differential form of Gauss law is done from the integral form itself. So you know that the from integral form, integral e dot ds is equal to q by epsilon 0. We have derived or proved just now. To derive the differential form, what we do is that we continue from equation 1 here itself. So in this equation, we have q, right? So I can write q as integral rho dv also. I hope this equation is known to you. This is studied in case of volume charge density. You remember volume charge density, right? Which is rho. I can write rho as dq by dv. I hope you remember it. Volume charge density. So from this equation, I can write it as dq is equal to rho into dv. So if I integrate this equation, what you get? On left hand side, you get q, right? So this becomes q is equal to integral rho dv. So that means I can write the charge in terms of rho, which is integral rho dv, and I have taken this equation as second equation. If I substitute equation 2 in 1, what I get? Integral e dot ds is on left hand side, and on right hand side you have q by epsilon 0, and in place of q substitute rho dv, integral rho dv. So you get equation number 3. Okay, in continuation, we already studied Stokes theorem in our first year, right? I hope you remember it. Stokes theorem, Gauss divergence theorem, Green's theorem, such theorems we have studied in vector analysis, which is part of our first year syllabus. We already have studied, so I'm not going in much detail. But what is Stokes theorem? That is important here. So Stokes theorem is the one which converts surface integral into volume integral. So this is a surface integral. So E dot ds is surface integral. We can convert this surface integral into a volume integral. So this one we call it as Stokes theorem, which is taken as equation number 4. So that means from Stokes theorem, by Stokes theorem, I can write integral E dot ds as divergent E dv, and divergent E is written as del dot E dv. So this is Stokes theorem, right? So now substitute this equation number 4 into 3. So in equation number 3, on left hand side, what do we have? We have integral E dot ds. And in equation number 4, we have integral E dot ds is equal to divergent E dv. So in equation number 3, we just replace equation number 4, substitute it. If I substitute it, what do I get? You just have a look at that. Okay, so this is equation 3, this is equation number 4. Okay, so if I substitute equation number 4, what happened in place of integral E dot ds, we get integral divergent E dv, which I can write it as from equation number 3, integral rho dv by epsilon 0. Since rho and epsilon 0 are constant, I can write this equation as integral rho by epsilon 0 dv. Okay, so since on both sides the integration is with respect to volume, on comparing, I get divergent E is equal to rho by epsilon 0. So divergent E is equal to rho by epsilon 0. And if I take this epsilon 0 to left hand side, I get epsilon 0 times divergent E. And I can send this epsilon 0 to epsilon 0. Inside this bracket part, if I do that, I get divergent epsilon 0 times E. So this epsilon 0 times E is a vector quantity which is denoted by D. We call this as displacement vector. So divergent D becomes rho. So this becomes, you can stop here itself or you can stop here. So as you wish. So this becomes the differential form of Gauss theorem. Okay, so where D is displacement vector, we study about that in our coming classes. Okay. Anyway, that's it. So in today's class, we try to understand what is electric field intensity, what are electric lines of forces, what is electric flux, and what is Gauss theorem. So these concepts are very important for your competitive as well as board examinations. I hope they are very much clear. That's it. We will stop here now, and we will continue in our next class. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.